Well, I had a conference at a really nice conference center. Beautiful wedding going on. We're like, oh, this is really cool, And afterwards, we finished our conference. We're sitting around. They have like a little bar lounge area, and we're watching the wedding party. And the longer it goes into the evening, the more animated they get. And they were a younger couple. And then all their friends were younger too. And then things started to fall apart. Then one of the bridesmaids started crying. And then somebody ran upstairs. And then somebody ran downstairs. And then some of the guys were huffing around, and then the bride ran upstairs and she was crying, and then they went outside and they came back in, they had more people, and then they were laughing, and then they go upstairs and they go crying, and it was like we just sat in the lounge area and watched all these people back and forth, like happy and sad and angry, and it was crazy.
Alcohol affects young people differently.
I'm not a wedding guy. I don't like weddings. I avoid weddings. I told my wife when we got married, I'd go to 2 weddings a year with her just because of the things you're talking about. And because of that, I've never really experienced a lot of things you're talking about. But here's what I did. I went to a wedding. After the wedding, we went to the reception. Receptions, they let the maid of honor say a few words, and that went well. And then the best man. And the wedding I went to, the best man, Woody, I kid you not, I timed it. The best man spoke for 26 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
It went from a quick speech about the bride and groom to this guy who's a tech head and IT guy who thought he was Robin Williams talking about everything in his life. It was so uncomfortable, Woody. And when it really got strange is when he was talking about sexual escapades of him and the bride and the groomsmen and some of the maid of honors. And to the point, Woody, that people got up and walked out. 26 minutes. I should have walked out about 6 minutes into it. It was embarrassing.
Woody, it was the first wedding ever held by our family. And of course, I was dating a really sweet, innocent girl, and her parents were just the salt of the earth. And we went to my brother's wedding. Of course, they invited my girlfriend and her mother as a chaperone. Well, the wedding was huge. The party was crazy. The next morning, I woke up in my home. My girlfriend was missing. Her mother was sleeping on the couch in the living room with 47 other people. that I had no idea who these people were. Her mother was suffering from a hangover. Of course, she never drank until the wedding, but it was an unforgettable wedding.
Did somebody spike the punch or something? If you've got people...
Yes. We had 2 punch bowls. She had the alcohol punch bowl, and then we had what I call the missionary punch bowl. No alcohol, but somebody got them mixed up. The whole thing was just long and drawn out. However, the marriage wasn't drawn out.
This one's a little bizarre, but I understand the premise of it. It was scheduled for an outdoor wedding, and the family owned a funeral home. Well, it ended up raining, so the reception was inside the funeral home.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a backup plan. I get it. The bride and groom and the party was in one room. Then, everyone else was just spread out throughout the rest of it. And probably the quickest reception we've ever been to. And I was like, okay, this is a little odd. We're out.
My husband and I had went to courthouse to get married. We didn't plan on convicts being in there with us.
Wait.
But they were.
You went to
Yeah,
where?
so the courthouse.
Okay. And you had convicts in there when you got married by the JOP?
Yes. We were not expecting that.
They didn't read your vows, though, right?
No, but they clapped.
My nephew in West Virginia was getting married. By the time we had got there, the bride and the sister-in-law got into a fight.
Like a knockdown, drag-out fight?
Yes, over a hairpiece. Then we get to the reception, and the aunt and cousin of the bride wasn't invited, and they showed up. So there ensued another knockdown, drag-out fight.
Oh, no.
So as they're coming out of the second fight, and they were calling the police to come in, the guy asked it, is it this last name and this last name wedding? They was like, yeah, and they was like, call the state police, I'm involved because I'm a family member. It was so crazy. 2 fights and the state police show up.
Nothing like a good old West Virginia wedding.
Amen.
Well, I'll stay anonymous because I'm guessing with the people that I know that possibly listen to your station and in office, I'll stay anonymous and I won't mention the names either. However, we went to a wedding. We're going to go back about 20 plus years ago. And my husband was in the wedding. And I should have known from the get-go there was going to be issue because at the end of the aisle, it was like one whole little venue. But at the end of the aisle, as the bride and groom would come walking back, was a bar. So, of course, when they walked back, there were shots lined up for them to do.
Of course.
So that all went well. They were supposed to go, full-fledged honeymoon afterwards. However, and I think they did. But at the end of the night, it ended with the bride being taken out by the EMS on a stretcher.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then she had to basically leave from there and head to the flight, in which I'm not sure exactly how all that went down and how many hours, but they were literally leaving, after they had everything planned out. We still talk about that. I'm sure they don't like to talk about it, but it happened. It was quite grand.
Note to self, don't put bar in the wedding venue.
Right.
Yeah, it was my own wedding, and I had it at the Franklin Park Conservatory.
Oh, beautiful.
And the dress I had was borrowed. That was my borrowed for something borrowed. It rained the night before, so I couldn't wear the train because I didn't want to grass stain it. They said the flowers would be in bloom and the fountain would be running. No flowers, no fountain, lots of mess.
Oh, no.
And then my mom called and said, your dad's sick. He's not going to be able to give you away.
Oh, no.
So I had to grab my uncle, who was in a suit, and say, hey, Rich, can you give me away at my wedding?
So you got a venue with no flowers.
Yep, and no fountain.
No fountain, and you've got no dad, because I'm sure he's legitimately sick, the poor guy.
Oh, yeah, he was legitimately sick, yeah. He was getting ready to come, and he was allergic to eggs, and he had a sandwich from a restaurant the day before.
Oh,
and
no.
apparently there was some kind of egg on the griddle, and he was sick.
Other than the wedding itself being a wreck, how has the marriage been?
That was a wreck, too.
Oh, no.
Hey, Woody, I got something that happened almost 40 years ago.
Okay.
When I got married the first time, I've been married twice. That's enough. Anyway, when I got married the first time, me and my husband-to-be lit our unity candle, and the pastor of the church that married us knocked it over.
Did anything start on fire?
Nope, nothing started on fire. This all was back in the state of Illinois in the St. Louis.
Maybe that preacher knew what he was doing all along.
I don't know. And then after he got us married, he retired the next day.
I was doing a little bit of DJ work back in the day, and I was DJing this wedding, and we were doing their first dance and so on, and the groom was a volunteer fireman, and they got a call for a house fire, and the best man and the groom's father and most of the guys left at that point.
Oh, my God.
They got a second call, and the groom left, and we were just there with all the women. There wasn't anybody else there.
I've never heard of such a thing. Did they come back?
No, they actually had a house fire, and they were on the volunteer fire department, and they got called in.
You suppose they fought the fire in their tuxes?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it was my daughter's wedding actually this past Friday, and I actually officiated her wedding. I was her wedding officiant, and then while the wedding ceremony itself was beautiful, the problem happened at the reception.
Uh-oh.
They actually never got their first dance song. The DJ attempted to play their first dance song. It was the wrong one. He played a different one. It was also the wrong one.
Oh, no.
Then the third time, he played the right song, wrong version. So they never actually got to do the choreographed dance. And then it gets worse, because at the end of the night, he has everybody circle them and say, I'm going to give them their first dance finally, and plays the wrong song again.
A third time?
Yes. Well, it was my daughter's wedding actually this past Friday, and I actually officiated her wedding. I was her wedding officiant, and then while the wedding ceremony itself was beautiful, the problem happened at the reception.
Uh-oh.
They actually never got their first dance song. The DJ attempted to play their first dance song. It was the wrong one. He played a different one. It was also the wrong one.
Oh, no.
Then the third time, he played the right song, wrong version. So they never actually got to do the choreographed dance. And then it gets worse because at the end of the night, he has everybody circle them and say, I'm going to give them their first dance finally, and plays the wrong song again.
A third time?
Yes.
The one they all always remember was Kelly's best friend when she got married. Danielle was what you would call endowed. And she wanted to do this no bra, strapless wedding dress.
Uh-oh.
2 words, wardrobe malfunction.
No kidding, really?
She pulled a Janet Jackson.
Oh, my God. During the ceremony or at the reception?
No, this was when the preacher says, I now present Mr. and Mrs., and they walk up the aisle and everybody stands up and cheers. We all got a real good look.
How did Danielle respond?
Not well.